Welcome back to the Comics Cube, everyone. We are on our second Trese Roundtable, and I am joined by three men who are big fans of animation, but are not that familiar with Trese. I am with Sean, Ado, and Mark. What's up, guys?
Hey, what's
Hey,
up?
Duy.
Hi.
Hello.
Off to a great start.
We should
After a
we
break.
should preface everything with the fact that we all actually do know each other. So we are all actually friends. We all have worked together in the same space. Uh, me a little bit farther away from the rest of you, but so here's my question, and then let's just go with Sean. And Sean, you can go tag someone for this. But
Sure.
when you heard about the Netflix adaptation of a Filipino comic book, what did you think, and what did you come to expect?
I don't know. I guess for me, historically, I feel like we've had a pretty rough track record with local animation. Granted, I could be wrong, but the ones that I've seen or were aware of really didn't meet expectation, really blow me away. So I was excited and surprised that something that, even though I haven't read, something as familiar to me as Trece was being adapted. And knowing that Netflix was backing the whole thing gave me a lot of hope and optimism, I guess, because ultimately I feel like Trece was something that for the longest time I was aware of. I've never had the chance to read, but I know of its significance, and I wanted the animation to do right by it. So that was like my whole POV coming in, like a very optimistic with the right amount of caution. Mark, what do you think?
Thank you, Sean. Passing the torch there.
It's
So,
because you had a reaction when he was saying something.
yeah, I got thinking of certain things, like, um, particularly like in Filipino animation, got me thinking there, like, what are the Filipino animations that we know of? So, first off the top of my head, RPG Metanoia, which is a CGI film that I'm pretty sure I think none of you have seen.
There was Saving Sally.
Same
Um,
Sally.
Saving Sally
Um,
was pretty fine, yeah.
there was this other one as well from the CSB people, but I don't recall what it is. But going back to Trece, I was aware of Trece for a while, but I never picked it up because it was horror. And it came out at the time where I wasn't sure of my tolerance for horror. And that's why I went with Kiko Machine. I'm not joking around. This was in high school. And I remember
I
in a
love it.
bookstore.
I love it. You're like, okay, I'm not sure I want to read this. Let me go to the polar opposite.
Yeah, because I remember I went to the Filipiniana section there. I was looking at the comics there. And I saw Trece in one end and Kiko Machine in the other. And I went with Kiko Machine. But
But
I've been around the convention scenes, comic scenes to be aware of Trece. And I'm not sure if you remember this actually, Dui, but I got into Trece because I was talking to you about Sandman. I was always interested in going into Trece, but I didn't know to start because similar to Sandman, was intimidated of where to start. And I think, and you just told me start in volume one. That's what I did.
I mean,
But the funny thing is,
logically speaking, Mark,
yes,
the number
but
one,
I
the
didn't know.
first book, it's
I
got
know, but
one
I
on it.
didn't know
what
what
if I
it
want to
is.
read the
Like,
last page first, though?
it's like comics now. Like if you pick up Batman, you start right now. It's like 100, 800 something. Like, could I just pick up like Kiko Machine? I just pick up the latest one. It's fine, or do I really need to start from the start? I didn't know it was episodic.
Yeah.
And the thing is, I picked the first one, but I picked up stories from the Diabolical. Sorry, I think that's only me and Doi would understand since we
So for reference, Mark picked up book one of a spin-off.
yes.
Ah,
And it was a good spin-off. And that was so this will be the whole comics, like very episodic, self-contained stories. It'll be fun. Then eventually I corrected it and I got the actual book one. The one with Balete Drive and all. And when I heard about the news of the Trese Netflix adaptation, I was excited. I didn't know who the first thing on top of my head, who's making this? Because I know we have some animation studios here, but um, I don't know of anyone huge enough that Netflix has on their bankroll to go with this. So that also piqued my interest. And as we found out, they were a pretty good set of people backing this production, at least for the way I see it in animation wise. I just really like what Sean mentioned. I just really wanted it to be true to the comic. It was a neo noir comic. It had a lot of great action. It will be a shame if the animation behind it didn't convey those on the screen. So that was the things that I was hoping for, at least for thinking about it initially before things started showing up to us.
Were
How about you, Ado?
were you
Or
disappointed?
sorry,
Were you disappointed, or did it not really matter for you that the production company wasn't local?
I understood. I understood it like if I'm not mistaken, the animation studio is based in Indonesia, but they have
Yeah.
like an office here or something.
Yeah.
I understood it in the sense that I have some friends who are working in animation, like CSB Animation. Then they started going to some animation companies here and there, and I understand that the local animation industry is a bit rough.
Mhm.
And I think project like these, even though it's technically exported outside of the country, is still a win in the sense that we're getting interest here. And maybe that can pull some further interest to invest here.
It's a
So
step. It's a step, right?
it's a step. It's
It's
a
a
step.
step, man.
A lot more needs to be done ultimately, but like there's, I was reading elsewhere like other animations, like they're complaining that what is animation has to be made in Japan, but half of Naruto is actually animated here in the Philippines. So what is it?
I didn't know that. That's
They,
interesting.
I mean, some Japanese studios and I mean, even Americans, they outsource their animations to other countries.
The
But
the
at the end of
X-Men
the day,
animated series was animated here.
The
Oh,
original
no
one?
way.
Yeah. Do-do-do-do-do.
That's right.
Yeah.
It's Pinoy
Let's
pride,
go.
man.
I actually went to the animation studio. They gave me the model sheets. It was like 12.
Wow.
they're still around.
I don't know.
I'm gonna look this up after this one.
They will be around in our hearts, man.
That's true. That's true.
And so will that song. What about you, Ado?
Well, I was pretty excited because Filipino mythology seems so interesting. It seems so deep and rich. And then you couple that with most of them kind of being horror related. So I think someone who, I mean, I don't love horror. That like I'm not insane, but I find it
I'm not
really
insane.
good. Come on, who actually likes
I,
horror?
I
so
agree,
much?
Ado. I understand.
it's
Dude, there are some sadists out there who watch horror
Exactly.
to get themselves scared.
But I do
I don't know
think
what the hell is wrong with
for
them.
Philippine media, like horror would be a great would be great for content because you know you can tie it to the country's mythology, lore, history, and that's pretty exciting, especially if you have a character who is you know like Trese, who is I guess your guide and the bridge between the two worlds. Kind of like, you know, okay, I really like Constantine. I watched the TV show, and whenever it comes out, like, you know, movie or cartoon, that episode to me is pretty hype. So Trese is, I don't want to say that Trese is Philippine Constantine, but, you know, kind of is.
This is interesting because the main influence for Alexandra Trese is John Constantine.
Okay, cool. I mean, I can imagine, but I didn't want to like outright say it because, like, you know, some people are very, like, you know, like this is an original Philippine work. I don't want to like draw comparisons immediately, but you know, knowing that that's helpful.
Look, man, Alan Moore, who in my opinion is the greatest writer to ever live, once said that creativity is Creativity is you take an existing thing and then you change the parameters. So, for example, if you go into a restaurant and you say, I would hate to be a waitress here tonight, you've changed your gender and you've changed your occupation. So that's like a rudimentary example of what he's talking about. But it really works when you do something, when you change it and you realize it's something that, why didn't anybody do this before? So just something like having a Filipino Constantine and also have it be a woman is, yeah,
You know,
Sean.
that's something really interesting to me because the first time I've ever heard of Trese, random story, I was maybe like, I want to say like 11, 12 years old. And I was really into those old Games Master magazines.
Mm-hmm.
And they have a segment in that magazine which shows like a part of, they mainly review games, but they have a portion which shows other forms of media. And they showed Trese there one time. And I don't know, maybe I was like, it was a product of the time for me to react this way, but I could not fully wrap my head around the fact that the lead character appeared so effeminate. Like I really wanted to believe it was a guy, but very obviously Alexandra Trece looks like a girl. And reflecting back on that, it's like how many comics did you have at the time that were spearheaded by a strong female character? So I can't think of much, at least. Correct me if I'm wrong. Like when was Trece released again?
2005. No, there's not a lot.
So I mean, bold move
That's
by
how
them.
subconscious bias is built.
Fair.
Whether or
But
not you're aware of it, yeah.
but yeah, I mean, just thinking back at that time and how your idea of a superhero was definitely not a woman. Like that's for me a very bold move and a very like strong progressive move to take as well. And I feel the way they characterized Alexandra at least was I liked it. I mean, long story short, I liked it. I loved that it was she felt like her own character when I started watching the show. So yeah, like just strong, bold move for something that came out all the way back then.
So that's a great segue to my next question, which is, what did everybody think of Alexandra, the main character? And do you think the story would have been as effective if she were a man?
Hmm.
Hmm. I
Anyone
guess
can
maybe
answer, yeah.
I'll kick us off. Let's give the other boys some time to think. Um, I really like I said, I really like her character. She like it did not there was not a single point during the show where I felt like a man could do this better. I don't know if that's a pandering statement, but she was definitely like I had the utmost confidence in how she handled everything in the show. Like very competent, very smart, very clever in how she thinks. And it again it was nice having someone of female gender be able to spearhead all of these actions. Like everything revolves around her. Like from the how do you say case per case episodes at the first or like how the
Yeah.
series started off with until it eventually blew up into its bigger, wider plot. Everything revolves around her, and you really feel the weight and depth of her influence within the show. So I think it was ultimately just a very good, very modern portrayal of how we envision not just a superhero, but or sorry, no, not how we envision a superhero, but rather it really makes you feel that a hero or a lead character can be anyone. And I do not think any of the things that happen in the show hit better if you change her gender from female to male.
Mark?
Okay. I was thinking on my experience with Trece in the sense of, I guess, between Sean, Jaime, and myself. Um, I've read Trese. I was reading Trese when the Netflix show was announced, so I have a little bit more experience, I guess, with the source material than my two friends here. And from I think in the comic, it's actually in the volume, it was actually stated there that Trese was supposed to be Anton, at least in the story.
That's true. They created Anton first.
And I found it funny that it actually started as a radio show.
Yeah.
Like at the times I was listening to, I think the original cast of Boys Night Out. Like there's this other station out there doing Trese's
Doing Trese's
storylines. I was like, that would be sick. I wish I was up knew about that. But having Trese as a woman, I think it works for us really well. And building on what Sean mentioned, like you can't think of strong female characters at the time that were around. And looking back how um we have strong female characters in, at least culturally, in the Philippines for a while. Like from, I mean, we had first female presence, and in terms of the comics, we had Darna.
Yeah.
Um, we also have Zaza Saturna, even though that's, if I'm not mistaken, LGBT plus Q. Yeah, but I mean, we're not exclusively promoting male leads, at least in the local comic scene that I'm aware, at least the ones that are getting popular and getting traction, like Trese did, even before the Netflix show.
Mark, would you
and it-
say now? Would you say now that Darna and Trese are our two most popular comics characters?
Locally, yes. Oh wait, before the Netflix show or with the Netflix show?
Even before, I mean, but obviously with the Netflix show, like now
I-
at this moment.
At least, yes.
So our two most popular comics characters are women.
I mean,
Like-
the male pool is very thin, or at least
I mean,
not.
Hey,
I
there's
haven't seen
Panday.
anyone.
Yeah. And respect to Elastic Man.
Okay, you're reaching.
Reaching.
Nope. pun intended.
Oh, you meant that.
I don't
Jose.
know. I don't know, man.
You know what? You know what? You know what? You're right. I've intended my pun. Okay, I own it. My pun was completely intended.
Oh, come on, you're not that clever.
No, I'm not.
Yeah, we're friends here, guys.
So yeah, go on, Mark. Like so.
And-
Yeah.
Honestly, that's exciting. I think it's really exciting. The It's also a bit frustrating that I still haven't completed Trese. So I'm stuck.
The comic?
Yeah, I
comic.
don't have volume 5. I have
Oh.
6 and 7. I can't read them because I don't have 5.
Oh
mean,
my
That's the
I think
reason
God.
why I
that's-
joined the Facebook group,
I
because
think that's beyond
Hi,
that's
guys.
beyond our control.
I know.
Don't
And, well,
worry.
I'm waiting for the publisher
Avenida will put it out. 'Cause
yeah.
They're on 3 now, so
Mm.
it's only a
But
matter of time.
and I just wish we weren't in a pandemic, because I can imagine the convention scenes, Jose.
Everybody, man.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
Lots of Alexandra and Kambal cosplays during the conventions.
And especially for the local comic scene, like more interest is, or at least more eyes are right now in the what else could I get, which is
Park that. Park
I
that.
know. Okay.
Sorry, just to
But-
add in, it's also like stupid easy to do a Trese cosplay. Like my god, if we were all out and about, can you imagine Halloween here?
Uh-huh. We might still have time for that, Sean.
Oh well.
What about you, Ado? What do you think of our main character, Alexandra Trese?
Well, okay, so going to her gender in a vacuum, I don't think, like, if you just look at the character, her being female or male doesn't really matter too much. But then, like, when you look at it in the context of the supporting characters around her, it makes a lot of sense. Like,
Because they're all guys.
No, well, no, but her mom isn't the guy. Just
Oh,
you
yeah,
know,
that's
saying.
I'm
But
glad
you know what?
glad you
Yes!
found the one. Yes.
Now,
Hard hitting.
Now that you mention it, it didn't occur to me that they were all guys
The mom was
until
Okay, yeah. So go on.
yeah.
Why does
Yeah,
it
so
make
Same
like
sense?
here though. Same here though.
the Kambal, which they're both guys, yeah, and they're kind of this fun, goofy. No, I don't say goofy, but they're more of the fun characters against Teresa's more stoic personality.
Hmm.
the
And I
foils,
don't
if
know
you
if that
will.
would if the dynamic would work as good if she were a guy in that situation. Like it just seems more fun that they play off each other that way. And then her relationship with her dad, I don't know. I think there's like special relationship between fathers and their daughters. So like you get to have that kind of relationship. And in the short parts where we see her and the mom, you get to see how the relationship between a mother and daughter is compared to how it is with the dad, especially when the dad is the patriarch and the, like as you guys mentioned, the original Trese. Like he's trying to pass on his skills and knowledge to her, and like seeing that from a father to daughter perspective plays really different. Like I mean, I imagine would play different from a father to son thing. So I like seeing this side, and I don't think I need to see what it would be if it were a guy. So I'm
Father
pretty happy
Yes.
with.
father son dynamics are pretty played out, aren't they?
Yeah,
You
so I don't need to see that.
know, that's an interesting point. Because I feel like thinking about it now, having that father-daughter dynamic, it kind of makes the whole process of training Trese feel a bit more genuine, more earnest, as opposed to like if you do it father-son, can it can be a bit more boring because a lot of it might
We've
be
seen it.
driven by machismo.
Yeah, that's
Yeah, and you've
true.
seen it. Like, you gotta be tough, you gotta be strong. But here it's like, you know, it doesn't hit the same way. So yeah, I think I definitely agree with that. Like, it's nice to not do something that's been played out.
There's two arguments that I've seen as to why it's important that she's a woman. One is the fact that she's a babaylan.
Yeah.
Mm.
So she's a healer, which I mean you could do that with a guy, but it's not. I don't think it quite lands the same. But the other one is, did you guys see their family portrait of Anton, Miranda, and Alexandra? Their family portrait where she has four brothers, by the way,
Oh yeah.
but that's their
Mm.
family portrait. But apparently that's a thing that's done with Unica Ihas, with only
Oh,
daughters. So if,
Oh.
yeah,
Like the family portrait.
yeah, like it is not uncommon for these for rich families to have a family portrait done with their only daughter, omitting the sons. Because because
I did
if
not know that.
if if she had been a guy, you can't do that portrait because that's just favoritism.
Fair. It's cool. Oh.
Okay,
Oh,
that's pretty cool.
overall, what did you think of the show? Let's start with Ado this time.
I guess I came in with pretty high expectations. I'm not sure where they came from, other than that I like the idea of Philippine mythology and I don't know, strong female characters, and it's Filipino. Like that's exciting to me. But I came in and I watched the first episode, and a lot of stuff was thrown at me, and I was like, "How many episodes are there?" And I checked. I saw it was 6. I was like, "Oh,
I feel
this
like the number of episodes is a
this
point that's going to come up many times through this conversation.
Oh, definitely. And this is just like as an indicator. Like they threw a lot of stuff at me in episode 1. I see there are only 5 more episodes left, and I got a bit worried. Before I move on, let's get someone else's thoughts on this. Just while we're here.
we're slowly opening the can of worms here.
sorry.
Yes.
Marky.
I think I can speak because Sean and I did a watch along on the first 3 episodes together, and we share the same sentiments, Ado. It's like, don't get me wrong, like watching the first episode, like we enjoyed it, but we
Same.
looked at the episode count, like what story are they going to tell in 6 episodes here? Like where is this headed? And
6 half-hour episodes too.
6 half-hour episodes too. Correct. Um, I
Spit it
Like
out.
me and Sean were thinking like maybe if it had like 8 episodes for 30 minutes or maybe longer episodes, but maybe like 8 half-hour episodes would be better.
Oh, wow.
Is
Are you really doing that right now? I
My
mean,
my only complaint
disappointment. It's so
on the
I
small.
first episode, Jose.
you didn't have to do that, man. Now I want chocolate, and I don't
Go
have
ahead,
chocolate.
Mark. Go ahead, Mark. I'm sorry for interrupting you.
It's okay,
Real,
but I
real
still want that
nice.
giant chocolate to be real, man.
I knew that was gonna come up.
So
Yo,
wait, no,
legit,
we're talking
legit.
about pacing. We're talking about pacing here.
Yeah. I Since I've read a few volumes of Trese, I was hoping they would flesh out a few things a bit more. Like I think this is something that Sean and I picked up earlier, and building on what Ado said, Trese is actually doing a lot.
Yeah.
They're doing a hell of a lot of things. We're in as you've introduced us, we watch a lot of animations. Some of our complaints in other shows is that
They don't do
it's
enough.
taking they don't do enough. It's taking their sweet time to get into their main point, especially in some Netflix shows wherein where's this headed. But in this one, I wanted Tressa to slow down, and I haven't said that in a while for any other show. Like
I agree.
I was
That's
saying,
because you only have 6 episodes.
yeah, I was thinking in the back of my head, I wish they would save some of these things for next episode or next season. Next season, we're in
I was
what?
gonna
Fingers
say.
crossed.
Yeah,
I was gonna say this is actually the best kind of negative criticism.
yeah, it is. It is like um, it was weird. I felt weird that when we were watching it, like this is a good thing.
The pacing is off. We need a second season. Is a great negative criticism.
Mm, we want more. And ultimately, at least for what we've got so far in season one, I liked it. I really liked it. I have some complaints here and there, which I think we'll get into, but
Yeah.
as we've initially laid out, there's a lot of things that happened here, and it's exciting. It's exciting at the end of the day. How about you, Sean?
And then you gotta pass
um,
to Ado because he cut himself short.
Oh yeah. Well, go ahead, Sean.
uh, I mean, heading into the show, the one thing I was looking for, or at least I was gonna be very very particular on, was the quality of the animation. Because like normally, when I try out other animated shows, like I know what captivates me early on. Like if the show looks good, more often than not, I will stay for the episode, and if the story is good, I will stay for the season.
Mhm.
So it was very nice to me that, based on the trailer alone, the animation showed like it had a lot of legs. So I feel that was a really good job for the action scenes. I'm gonna elaborate on this. For the action scenes, the animation house did a really good job on that one, and
The
the story itself.
the designs, especially like in stills, they look good.
I will,
Yeah.
yeah, I will elaborate, and uh, so like so the animation was on point for the first episode, and again, as Adam mentioned earlier, knowing that Trese really dives deep into Philippine mythology, which is, and I feel personally, it's not a an area that has been really like done well as far as local media goes. Like sure, you have your hoarders for your aswangs, tikbalangs, capres, etc. But there's always like, and I hope I do not offend anyone, but I always felt like the horror that they use it for was quite cheap. Jump
Mhm.
scares, easy scare tactics, and so on and so forth. But like a genuinely good story that really widens the scope of like the where, what, and hows of all these mythological creatures is interesting. So of course I stayed, but for me, and this is something everybody has said, I liken the plot of Trese to the giant chalk nut from the show. I kind of like the plot of Trese is very rich, very dense, based on what little I've heard from the source material. It's a nice big chalk nut, and me, who as a guy who enjoys his sweets, I would have loved to like take every small bite of that chalk nut bit by bit, enjoying it as I go along. But
Not like how
instead of
Nuno eat everything up.
oh hell no, dude, I
He
I
went
can't
for
do
it.
that. Like I mean, you could. I don't think you're gonna have a good time. But instead of getting the giant chalk nut, I think we got the regular size chalk nut, the small ones, like small enough to satisfy your craving, but also too small that it makes you want more. And when you want more, you keep getting more, which normally you can
This is
since you
how
only have
to the international people watching this. This is actually how chalk nuts are. You think you're only gonna eat one. You're
No.
not gonna eat just one.
no, absolutely not. Try it. We'll bring you some. But uh and the thing is, with only 6 episodes, I was only given 6 small pieces of chocolate. I wanted more. And again, with all the small improvements that I'm sure we'll get into as we go along, there is so much that we can improve on with what was shown here. Because I've noticed that everybody in this group almost like I feel like this was just very standard Netflix proof of concept approach. We're gonna give you small amount of stuff to work with, throw out what you can throw out. If it works, great. You do it again. If it sinks, well, tough luck. And I really hope that this show is able to generate the kind of viewership and legs that will get to the second season, because I really think there is so much that can be improved on in the formula. Everything from the production to the performances to how they structure the show. Because, like for me, and I think we can start getting into some spoiler territory here, but
Yeah, go ahead.
I feel like the first 3 episodes were really, it felt like it should have been best presented as isolated cases, but it was trying really hard to establish a wider season spanning plot,
I see what you mean.
which made it ultimately feel a bit, um made it feel like a mixed bag for me. Like I kind of would have wanted, if it were up to me, and of course it's not up to me, but if if we could have had like just slowly bring us into like what Trece does on a day-to-day basis, then somewhere in the middle, bam, you hit us with a lore episode. Like, what's her backstory? Where did she come from? Because I was confused
That is
when they started
interesting because
doing
that's
those.
how the comic is structured.
And I was confused. Like, Mark and I, when we were doing the first 3 episodes, they started doing those black and white backstories, I think in episode 2.
Yeah.
Mm.
And we were kind of lost on what the hell it was trying to show. Like, yeah, ultimately it showed your big bad, the God of War, but again, it was so short that you really couldn't make much out of it. And the fact that it didn't link up with the cases that they were showing made it feel a bit lost in the shuffle. So definitely timing, no, sorry, pacing. Had it had 8 episodes, I really think 30 minutes is great for the content of Trece, but more episodes just to really let it breathe, take its time. And a lot of people online are saying that this show needs to breathe. Absolutely. And hopefully that is something that we can get with more seasons.
Yeah. Just to build on what Sean was saying, I think you're gonna enjoy this, Dewey. The thing that's been wrapping my head, what if they save a bit of the backstory, the black and white backstory, and do it as an episode with Father Anton, similar to what
The comic.
Legend of Korra did with Avatar 1, where
Ah,
you have that one episode that you have everything there.
That one episode.
That
see what you're saying.
like
Ah, I see what you're saying.
I was wrapping my head. What if they had 8 episodes? One episode was exclusively that, and you have a little bit more time with Trece as a result, like modern um now Trece. Um, and again, like building from what we said earlier, it was doing a lot of things and it needed more time. Just fun. At the same time, a bit frustrating that
We didn't get
um
more.
yeah.
The end result
Yeah.
here is we all wanted more.
Yeah. I think in
Like,
particular for me and Sean, episodes 2 and 3, I really wanted more time with the tribes and a bit of the creatures. Um, maybe establish them more as a result, especially leading up to the climax towards the end. I think that would have been helped by a few more episodes and a little bit more focus on them as a result. How about you,
like
Ado?
for,
Since
You
I
cut
was
yourself
waiting for
short,
Ado.
Ado.
Yeah.
You had something to say
Oh,
here.
well, okay. So I did like the first episode when I first saw it, but after watching all of it, I can say that the only episode I really liked is episode 3. And I felt, and even if I've never read the comics or something, I felt like this, what they did in episode 3 was um, true to form. Like it had the mythology elements, the horror elements. It had, an explanation of what a Chanak is. I mean, in episode 1, they talk about aswangs. I've heard about aswangs before, but after watching Trese, I don't know what an aswang is. I still don't. And that explanation would have been nice.
That's a common thing because the Naswang is like Naswang is just a catch-all term.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay, that's cool. But I mean, like, I'm not sure how it was like, behind the scenes and the production ever, but if you knew that you only had 6 episodes, I think you kind of have to make a judgment call on what you want to do. Do you want to make it like an anthology of isolated cases, or do you want to make a mini series? And giving 6 episodes, and I'm sure they really wanted to get a season 2. They wanted to go with best foot forward, and I kind of feel they just put all their feet forward. They just threw everything they had at season 1, and I mean I enjoyed parts of it, but like as a whole, I don't think it really worked out the way it should have.
Tell me what you enjoyed.
Episode 3,
Which it's funny
like
because episode 3 is the one that they changed the most.
oh, who's they?
It's changed the most from the comic.
Oh, from the
Yeah.
comics. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I like that. Just like the general tone of the episode. I like the character of Trese and her dynamic with the Kambal. I wish I could see more of Trese doing things like,
just
and
normal things.
yeah, and I guess also to
Normal
interact
things.
more with the mythological creatures. I felt like, yeah, like what Mark said, I don't think we got enough of that. I don't really feel like I know them any better because of the show, and that's kind of what I wanted. Like again, she's like the bridge between the real world and the spiritual world. So hopefully that would have been like the opportunity for me to learn more about it through her eyes, which would have been great for me.
I feel like
Trese
Sean
is
has something to
actually
say
the
here.
Avatar.
Actually,
Trese is
it
actually
just
the
hit me.
Avatar.
It's
Like,
the parallels
God
to Avatar
damn.
Korra, man.
I don't know what it. So she's essentially the Avatar, but make her a female Keanu Reeves. Yes, I refer to that version of Constantine.
I thought you were going with John
Um,
Wick, and I'm like, what?
I mean, John Wick
I mean,
wears black.
technically, the first Constantine movie was Keanu Reeves. So,
That's true.
but no, like all that's interesting to me, and I agree with everybody because I feel like the show kicked in for me on episode 5,
Mm.
the penultimate episode. it's like
To me,
it's
it
like
was 3 as
episode
well. To me, it was 3 as well. I don't. So
before I get to episode 3, but like episode because I can feel episode 4 was when they opened the doors a bit more with the lore. Then 5 was when the plot really kicked in with I hope I don't butcher his name, so I'm gonna call him the God of War. Um
so
Hmm.
I'm gonna butcher that name, man. I'm sorry. I live here, but I know I'm gonna butcher that name. But yeah, like it kicked in episode 5, and I kind of wish like we had 2 more episodes after that. I don't know how you restructure the whole season to make it make sense, but if we had 2 more episodes after that, would have been perfect for me because it felt like the show was reaching its second gear, and right when it was ramping up, it was done. My comments on episode 3, on the other hand, is I know Mark shares the same opinion. It definitely felt like the most grounded episode with regards to its storyline. And I feel like the the story, any Chanak story, resonates with a lot of people because it's essentially the corrupted soul of an aborted baby or a dead baby.
Yeah.
Like, that hits people. And like, even though for me the story wasn't anything new, I like how it developed and I like how it was presented. And that is what I feel was missing, especially with episode 2, because I felt like it was running out of things to ground itself on.
That's
It
interesting because like the social media reaction I've seen has their favorite character showed up in episode 2.
is it the Tikbalang
Yeah,
son?
it's Maliksi.
Yeah.
Lots of
I
people
I
love
I
him.
I am not surprised that he's a favorite. But also, like with episode 2, it was such a flash in the pan moment for Dante Basco, man. I wanted more.
Actually, yeah.
But
Don't you love how you recognized his voice even through all the static?
the moment he shouted, I was like, this is him.
Talking about how you should not dishonor his father.
Yeah. This
Incredible.
is this is Zuko.
This is Dante Basco. This is Zuko, and he's saying Alexandra Trese. That's a surreal moment, man.
That blows my mind.
Oh. How
Huh.
did you feel seeing the Meralco building?
Oh god. I was like, this looks spacious as hell. like
For
like not
those
just the
not in the know,
Meralco,
we
like not
work very near the Meralco building.
and like not just the Meralco compound itself, like the general area. Like, wow, this is so not congested. This is great. I kind of want to live here. What is this place?
It's during the pandemic.
Yeah, nature
True,
is
true,
healing.
true.
Um, but yeah, like the first 3 episodes, like I would have wanted like a case by case presentation, but it definitely needed something to ground itself on a bit more. Because like I feel the first episode it had that whole like political conspiracy thing that's a very hot topic, especially where we're from.
You know what's
But
insane to me is that
uh-huh,
I watched that and that I didn't even register to me that it's a commentary on current events or anything. I'm just used to politicians in fiction being bad.
exactly.
Then I see the comments online. We're like, oh, this is clearly Dilawan propaganda, and I'm like,
Oh, no.
what?
That was funny, man.
Really?
Yeah,
Really? I don't know. I'm not sure if aswangs are partisan in that regard. Maybe tribalist, but not partisan.
I know.
Um, it's a bit of a hot take. But it's like for me, episodes 4 to 6, like what grounds everything is Trese's whole backstory, the family dynamic, the sins of her father. So that made everything a bit better. But the first 3, yes, definitely the third one is the best in terms of its overall arc, followed by the first, and the second was, I think, the weakest in terms of the presentation. It had so much going on in that episode. And then, like, at what, 30 minutes? How much time do you get to spend with all of the things that are developing?
What language did you guys watch this in?
English.
I started off in Filipino, then I switched to English, then I rewatched the whole thing in Filipino again. I tried a bit of the Japanese for kicks.
Which one do you think was better, Mark?
It's tough. Honestly, it's tough. I like some of the lines in Filipino because it feels more
Authentic.
natural. It feels more authentic.
Especially the kambal.
Especially for the
Oh
kambal,
my
yes.
god, yes.
Especially the kambal. Like
Yeah.
when Kulimlim destroys their car, the
Mhm.
English version says no, not the car.
Yeah.
The Tagalog version goes bad trip yung kotse.
And I remember like Santelmo saying Killjoy mo naman, which is funny because Killjoy
It's
it's in
such a
English.
great
And then when you
line.
watch English, well, you're no fun. Like, You can't use Killjoy.
It's not the same
Isn't that a
thing.
Filipino? Yeah, it's like that's a bit
Like
weird.
even Mark, we discussed this last Friday. Like the Tresa's whole intro spiel when she calls herself here the Bantay
Mhm.
is a lot more impactful versus the English translation, at
Have
least
you
to
seen
us.
the translations? They don't mean the same thing. It's really weird.
It doesn't
Um,
surprise me.
yeah, let me pull that up.
You mean the subs of the Filipino dub?
So no, okay. So let me pull that up really quick. The
I
you
think
just
the
you wait.
subs mirrored the English script.
Okay,
Yeah, I
so
know Netflix does weird
the
subtitles.
so
Yeah,
The English says, "Good people keep trying to fight back, but the dark forces are getting stronger. There is no light to keep the shadows in check. There is only me." The Filipino dub says, "Pilit na lumalaban ang mabubuting tao, ngunit lumalakas ang puwersa ng kadiliman.
Alam yun.
Habang hinihintay muli na manaig ang liwanag," there's no mention of shadows whatsoever. "Ako muna ang bantay." Ako muna
oh,
ang bantay and there is only me do not mean the same thing.
they do not.
Oh.
I wonder if like they just called her the Guardian, would it have been better?
And in
Would
the
it?
Japanese dub, the last line is "the last line of defense is me."
That's
Translation's a funny thing.
Translation's a funny thing, huh?
The
Netflix
the
is funny
thing
with translations, man.
the thing that I was trying to wrap my head around it is the original comics is in English.
Yeah.
That's and that was the point of contention of what language would I watch this first. Since I know Trese to be in English, yes, it's still used Filipino terms here and there, and that worked for me was reading it. But watching this, I'll try the English,
It's different when
but
you're hearing it.
it's different when you're hearing it, man. I enjoy it in Filipino.
There are some characters who would definitely be speaking in Tagalog, like
Mhm.
the Kambal. And there's
Yeah.
some characters who would probably be, more like somebody like me or Ado or Sean or Mark or whatever. Or
All
us.
of us.
The
Alexandra would be one of them. Alexandra, I think, would primarily speak in English.
maybe Taglish,
I actually think
Depending
like
on
how
who
they
she's
did.
talking to.
depending who you're talking to. Like the what's that tikbalang? No, not
Maliksi.
tikbalang. Milixi and the tribe, Armanaz.
Yeah, Armanaz.
Those guys would be in English.
I agree.
The Rin
Yeah.
tribe, I'm not sure. That like the female wind twins.
No, I think they'd speak in like super Konyo English.
I hope so.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes,
I
yes.
I
I
can
was telling
imagine.
this to Sean. The only gripe I have with them, I just wish their hairs were floating like in the comics.
So are we saying that because my whole thought was if there was only like a more colloquial Taglish dub, I feel like it would be more genuine.
I would have to agree. Like I think Sean mentioned this too when we were talking about it. Like the English had some Filipino terms, that's why it's a bit closer to the Taglish, but flip it around, like 80% Filipino, 20% English. Like when you mentioned, certain characters speak in English, and therefore Trece would converse in English to them.
Mm-hmm.
I think that will be a more genuine Filipino dub as a result, because that's how we're speaking right
How we
now.
speak.
And I remember one of the things Sean pointed out when we had like in between episodes 1 and 2 discussing it, like he wasn't sure when to pinpoint the show because he saw Tress's phone. It was still a Nokia. It's like, is this now
You
or
saw
back
Oh,
everybody
then a
else's
bit?
phone. You saw
I,
everybody
I,
else's phone though.
dude,
But
I have so much. I
I
have so
forgot
much in the
who.
bank about the periodicity of the show.
I recall I saw someone with a smartphone
Yeah,
in the
there's
show.
it's set in the modern day. It's just
Yeah, so it's
that
modern.
specific phone is used to call San
Yeah.
Telmo.
All right, so just her. She's the only one using a Nokia in 2021.
Man, Nokias don't die, man.
It's the
No, I
thing.
know that. I
Nokias
know
don't
that.
die, man.
I just want to be clear. I just want to be clear
Here's
because
my
if it was
question. Here's my question. What is her most
Mm.
powerful weapon? Is it the CNAC dagger or is it the Nokia phone? I
Well,
gotta go with a Nokia phone.
it was her last resort after all.
Yeah, I
Spoilers.
can lean that way as well. It survived all these years.
I'm going to go with the dagger because I disagree with Duy.
But I
The
mean, Sean,
contrarian.
the reason for that is because the comic was written in 2005.
Oh yeah, I mean,
that's yeah.
like that makes the most. Of course, that makes the most sense. Like it's really just like her own quirk to have the Nakia, but I was honestly also a bit lost on if it was supposed to be set based on when the comic was made, or was it adjusted for today. So that was something that was a bit murky to me.
I think it
On
was
the topic of
adjusted for today, except that part of it is like
Mhm.
so baked into the lore as it is. The fact
Yeah.
that she uses a Nokia phone to call Santelmo, that they just have to keep that.
Fair. I
It
mean,
makes sense that they did. I mean, it's not weird or anything.
and it's a cool character quirk to me, you know.
The most unrealistic part of the show is when the Nokia breaks.
Oh,
I was
I
gonna
would
say
have
the
to
giant
agree.
chalk nut because that doesn't exist, but
mm,
I
okay,
want it to
Nakia
be real,
breaks
Ado. No,
up
it
there.
has to happen.
If the people who make chalk nut don't produce a giant chalk nut for Halloween or
oh
the
my
holidays,
God! It's
they're missing out.
like
They're
chalk nut. Here's some free marketing advice. Do a big one for Halloween.
Honestly,
Guys,
honestly,
you guys
Jose,
got
that was the big.
yeah. Go on.
That was the biggest mistake that Netflix did with their presser goodie bag. They didn't make a giant chocolate nut.
I'm
They
sure
only
it's
gave
Oh
it
up.
the
my
I'm
regular.
the
sure
ones
it's
in
up to
charge
them.
of making
Let-
giant chalk nut should do it. I don't know
Let's
who
put
you
it this
are.
way.
you guys have to tell me if chocolate sales rise.
Man, how wait? How stupid would we look though if there actually was giant chocolate and we didn't know?
No. Then it's not us who are stupid. It's the people who market it. They're not letting us know because
Leave it to
apparently
us.
we all want giant chalk nut and none of us
Fair,
have
that's
found it.
fair.
So
Like, what are you guys
Job.
doing?
Good job. Good
Where
job.
the-
Good job saving us on this, Ado.
Well,
where are the commercials?
I mean, if we were able to get a real life ABS ZNN to
ABC
appear,
ZNN.
ABCC
Oh.
CNN, if we got that to happen in real life, we can get the giant chocolate to happen in real life. That's where I believe in.
I'm glad we have our priorities straight.
I think it's gonna
Oh
happen.
hell yeah, dude! I mean,
I hope so.
like, look me in the eye and tell me you do not want this.
Tell me what you guys thought of the way Manila was depicted. Through
Wait,
the
sorry. Before we get to that, can I go back a bit on the dub?
good.
You have some thoughts.
No, it's we're not dwelling on performances just yet, right? Just to be sure.
I mean, if you wanna, we can go there now.
Yeah, since you're on the topic of the dubbing,
Yeah.
No, because I feel like with with the English dub, so I like what they did with Trese there. Like some people found, like my sister, was it my sister? I'm not sure if it was my sister. I think it was. She found it weird, like hearing all these predominantly English speakers trying their best to speak Filipino.
Filipino
I
accents,
was like, yeah, like of course the Filipino accent is very pronounced, but I actually really appreciated it. Like that, at least there was an attempt still. Like of course it may sound a bit off, but I mean that is our language, and I like that internationally it can hopefully get a bit more attention.
Let's
And I like
let's put ourselves in the shoes of these people, like for a second, right?
Yeah.
These people are voice actors, and they're voice actors of color. They're hired to do voices. They're probably asked to do all sorts of accents all the time, but it's
yeah,
never their heritage's accent. It's never the
Mhm.
Filipino accent. Finally, they're
yeah.
asked to make it. Who of the four of us can do a Filipino accent, a convincing one on command?
can't even do it like normally.
No, you're talking to the wrong people, man.
Right?
Ala
Yeah, I get it.
Patanggan
Yeah,
nyo
I
yung
totally get
pamilya
that.
ko.
Like Mark,
You're talking in Tagalog, Mark. That's
The Filipino accent in English.
Can you do on command a Filipino accent while you're talking in English, because I can do it when I'm talking to someone whom I would normally be talking to in Tagalog.
If you let me swear right now, I think I can.
God damn
It is very interesting that is our trigger actually. It's
It's part of.
usually
I think it's part of our code switch
it's the code switch.
at,
Yeah,
on our upbringing as well and speaking the language.
like I don't know.
I I, I
I go more high pitched, and I get a
Hmm.
little bit uh more enunciating with the words when I switch accents, but I can't do
Yeah.
it on command. So if you have put me in a recording booth and you ask me to do it, I'm like, what would come out is probably the same thing that came out. So
Yeah.
and
Like again, I
Hmm.
mean, like there's definitely a way. Like I definitely think it takes a lot of skill to do it on command, or you have to be at least talking to the right people. But um, the way it was done in the English dub, I think, was very admirable in the execution. And
also the
again,
cast.
it can only get better from there because like I
Hmm.
agree with the general sentiment that maybe for Trese, you want her to be taglish. You want her to adjust herself depending on who she's talking to. To the Tikbalangs, English. To the Aswangs, maybe more Filipino. Who knows? Um, I think that makes the most sense. And again, certain characters definitely shine a lot more in Filipino versus English. Like again, the twins, uh, Captain Guerrero,
Captain Guerrero, yeah.
another.
You know who
Um,
shines in both? Is Hank.
I think so. Hank's English, like the English VA's portrayal of Hank's Filipino accent, I think is spot on. Like that's how I imagine. Like that's exactly how I imagine a guy who speaks predominantly Filipino, but forcing himself to speak in English.
By the way, Hank is a tito we all have.
Oh yeah, oh yeah.
I think we can all
Very
say this.
familiar character.
I,
Like I've seen him somewhere. I'm definite. Sidebar about Hank. I could not get away from my head that he is a spitting image of Manny Pacquiao.
Yeah.
I won't get
Huh.
into why, but it was very distracting for me.
Yep.
But the character outshone the at least
the
outshone the threat.
likelihood.
Yes. Um, but yeah, definitely if there is a way to make things taglish, not just for English, but also for the Filipino dub. Like, just flip it. English gets 80% English, 20% Filipino. Filipino gets 80% Filipino, 20% English. And I think, as we'll probably get into, doing Taglish for the dub plays into everyone's strengths a bit more for the Filipino VAs.
Yeah. Like I actually have no deep issues with the English dub. Um, especially knowing the people behind it. I was telling this to Sean because I didn't want to discuss Trese with you guys just yet because of this roundtable thing. Um, we're
There's the
in
discussion.
yeah, this is a discussion. I don't think they're I don't think most of them are seasoned VAs like Darren Chris, Lou Diamond Phillips,
All
Dante
right, Darren
Basco.
Chris was Marco, right?
What's Marco?
Mm.
A new
And
character. He doesn't exist in the comics, which makes me think. I mean, I think it's pretty obvious that he's going to be in season 2 quite heavily.
Mhm, mhm.
Yeah, they do kind of
And
Wait,
hint.
so Captain Guerrero is dead?
I think so. I believe
Like,
so.
what's
I
his
thought
thing?
I thought I thought he had the Infinity Stones. God damn it.
I
I
think they
know.
could bring back because it's a show based on the supernatural, and they always have ways to do whatever they want.
Oh
But
yeah.
you know,
Like
and
we're
that's one
we're,
of
we're,
the things
we're
about magic as a power. You really have to either you explain it or you don't. You explain it a lot, or you don't explain it at all, and just let things happen, and then
You're
let the
just like,
audience.
it's magic.
Yeah, it's if
you
you don't want to
Doctor
do
Who
the
it.
if you don't want to take the long way, you just
You
gotta
Doctor Who
take
it.
the low road and yep, magic.
I mean, that's how
And if you
you
don't have time to explain it, then you just have to take it as it is.
As long as you have fun, that's the important thing.
Yep.
As for
The
it's
real
it's really
magic
with
is
the
the friends you made along the way.
yeah,
That I
I'd
know for
Magic.
sure.
agree. I think the Taglish is for the Filipino dub, and for the English, I think um it's commendable, like what Sean said. Um, could they work on it more? Yeah, they could, but ultimately, it's a stellar cast that they got for the English. For the Filipino one, um, are we gonna get into Trese now?
Go ahead.
Go ahead. Okay. She for Liza, she did for me personally satisfactory take on the job of being Trese. I still see her as Trese, like Liza is Trese, and I don't mind that. My complaint really would be on some of the deliveries, wherein I don't know the production thing
So
behind the scenes and all
you're
of that.
saying she has the voice, but the delivery could be worked on.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. Like when I remember when I was watching the first episode, she sounded like a strong, um, no nonsense lead and someone to take seriously, and she was. But there were really some moments that I wish it was done better. In particular, not that spoilery, so I'll go with episode one when she was confronting Mayor Santa Maria, wherein the mayor said, "I don't want no nonsense about tikbalans and aswangs." I forgot the line, but the line of aswang, and then Tressy goes with, "I said nothing about aswangs." In the English, you can hear the smugness in Tressy's voice.
Yeah,
In the
she says something
Filipino,
like
it's just
I
very
didn't.
deadpan.
Yeah.
Like I said nothing about aswangs. Like,
Like
but
yeah,
she's smiling like like a smug face. Like I didn't hear that. And those are some of the moments where I wish it was a little done better. But in the some of the moments that counted, and majority of the show, anyways, she did a commendable job at it,
So the
especially for a first
register, the
timer.
voice of the register was there.
Yeah,
Do we know? Because we're in a pandemic. Do we know if they got Liza in the studio to do her lines?
I do not.
chances are.
I saw her on Instagram saying, in a recording booth. I don't know if it was an actual studio. I don't know if it was a makeshift.
At her home,
I don't know if it was at her
she
It's
home.
just
like
made one.
I'm
that's like
sure
so
her
weird.
home
Like,
is big enough that she can make her own recording booth.
Yeah,
and from what I know, a lot of VAs in the past year they really recorded out of their closets in the states
Yeah.
to make things work. Because
I
this is
know
more
she
the
was
technical
heavily
side.
coached. I know she was heavily coached.
Because like on the technical side for me, I noticed like maybe it's just a mix of the audio track, but there was a bit more clarity in how the English dub sounded in contrast to the Filipino one. Like the Filipino one sounded a bit more compressed. That said, uh, like again, make it a Taglish script. I think that plays in so much more to Liza's strengths because she is I don't know what she's half foreigner. I'm sorry to anybody
American, if I'm
who
not mistaken.
like if I'm not sure what she's half. If she's American and half American, but
She's American
that
and
plays
half American.
no sorry, but that would play to her strengths more in my opinion. And I think it's like the way she sounded to me is that okay, so she was being heavily coached, but the way she sounded to me was she was thinking too hard of how to deliver her lines.
Hmm.
I'm not sure if that's a product of the script because, like, for example, for in Ado's case, like the Filipino dialogue is hard to follow, and like, yeah, even for me, like there are a lot of parts in the Filipino dialogue that
It's formal.
if you do, it's very formal,
It's very formal.
um, and it's easy to get lost. And if I'm someone in her position that maybe I have that kind of upbringing, again, I'm not sure, but if I am half Filipino, half American, or half Filipino, half foreigner, it, it's challenging. Like if you're somebody who's regularly used to speaking English, like we all are, like I am, if you tell me to speak in straight Filipino for 30 minutes, I am going to be thinking really, really hard at how I say it. that brings me back to all of my classes in Filipino when I was in school. It was hard thinking on how I should pronounce these things. Because
Like the
again,
name of the datu.
the dialogue is formal. It's not the kind of conversational Filipino that we do. So yeah, I mean, for me, she like we know how she is as an actress. She's pretty good at it, and I don't think this is the level that we should settle on. And I know like someone of her caliber can do better. And maybe one way to get us over that hill is with a script that considers that more conversational aspect of Filipino.
And
So
I think it goes back into what we were complaining about earlier, or at least wanting the show to be to have more episodes, therefore have more time. Maybe also for season two. I want this thing to have a little bit more time in the production scene to prepare everyone from the animation all the way to the VO.
Ado, you've been quiet. What do you think about the dubbing?
I watched most of it in English. I tried it a bit on Filipino, but I have to read subs because I don't fully understand the language, and that kind of distracts me. And then I moved to the English one. I thought it was okay. It just sounded. I mean, like you said earlier, a Filipino accent trying to do it on command. I don't even know what it's supposed to sound like. It just felt off to me when I was listening to it. It sounded like someone trying to do a Filipino accent, which is, I mean, that's fair. It just took me out of it a bit. So I did try the Japanese one. And as you guys were making the points earlier, that in the Filipino one and the English one, the people who were voice acting aren't, not all of them are voice actors. But in the Japanese one, I assume they are all voice actors and they really brought it. Like, the only reason I didn't finish watching it in Japanese, like I ended up finishing it in English, is because seeing it just felt, off. As good as it was, it just felt off. So I was like, okay, I'll take the English one, even though for me the Japanese one is great. I do recommend people try it, like after they've watched it in the preferred language first, and see if there's anything different. Like if I were to rewatch this, it would be in Japanese, just because I think that could change a lot of it, at least the experience of watching it.
Sugoi, sugoi, sugoi.
Tell me what you thought about the way Manila was depicted. Gonna throw a scene out at you. Captain Guerrero in a jeep,
Do you do
Giving
you
out the passing the money to the
passing the
driver.
money to the driver.
It's like I have a technical POV on it and a like content POV. Technically, a lot of the background scenes, in my opinion, were very lifeless. I'm sorry. Like I like how like the actual art of it. Like for example, the
Mm.
opening scene that shows, I assume, is your Makati, Guadalupe area,
Yeah.
Mm.
and it looks great, but it looks dead. And again, I don't feel like that's something that might have been a restriction on the part of the production team. And
I
in
think it
general, like a
is.
lot of the background characters also, they're maybe like animated in CG, so they moved a bit differently versus the principal characters. That said, the depiction of Manila, I don't know. I'm conflicted about it. I maybe Mark, you'd want to start off.
Sure.
I'm gonna pass it on
I,
to
I
you because
actually
I
I
want to see
appreciate
where
I
we're gonna
actually
go.
I actually
I didn't even call on Sean to answer that question first, but
yeah.
he started answering that question. And he's
Yeah,
like,
that's why
maybe Mark should start.
yeah.
Yeah, that was the
I
intro. This is the answer.
can I start? Can I?
Yes, of course, of course.
Actually in conversing about the animation, I actually appreciated the still, like the photo shots, the magical realism that they depicted Manila as. And in what Sean was mentioning to be like still and stuff, like I know that's an animation budget constraint,
Mhm.
but they make up for it for that when the action sequences kick in. So at least they know. It tells me they know where the priorities lie and where to put more money in. So that's a good thing for me. Um, but in terms of depiction of Manila, I really enjoyed it in the sense that I'm hard pressed to think of any foreign um, production that handles Philippines and Manila in the way that the show did. And I'm grasping here, but the last one I can recall is I think Godzilla when they showed the Philippines at the start of it. I think that's the last American made, not made here thing that I can think of. And and I think they
It's
actually shot that
always
in
a
Hawaii.
sanitized version of Manila too,
Yeah, it
where
is.
they show it.
And it's actually pretty accurate and beautiful how they started. They started off in the middle of the bay,
Yeah.
showing at daytime. It greets you with a warm hug. Then at nighttime, when you take a dark turn, suddenly there's an aswang there ready to chop your head off for a white lady. And I remember I was telling you, Jose, that I was worried it's not going to start in Baleta Drive, but it did. And I
Yeah,
was
it
so
did.
hyped for that. Seeing that blue street signs that you normally find in Quezon City,
Yeah.
like, oh, hey, this is home. Um, it portrayed it pretty accurately, I would say, in that sense. Like you mentioned, Captain Guerrero passing the money in the jeepney, and seeing like these fictional places that we've known, like Magna Mall. I guess my biggest
We
grab,
know what that is. We know what
we
that
know what
is.
that is, and considering its proximity to the, I'm not sure what they call it in the comic actually, the Meralco building.
Yeah, the Meralco building,
How near it is. I guess the only thing that I wish they still kept was was it Robertson's Mall?
Robertson's.
Robertson's Mall with the my favorite,
Yeah,
actually my favorite thing in the comic were in the
they do the
the
Snake
son of
Man.
the Snake Man
Yeah,
in
they
the
do the
mall,
Snake Man in the mall.
which I hope they keep for the next season because I really want that to happen. And those little things tells me
Be
that,
really funny. You have Alice Dixon voicing the. That'd be
and
real.
I think this goes in where or we were talking about earlier that we wanted a um little bit more time with the mythological creatures. Kind of wish we had a little bit more time in Manila as a result.
Mm.
Like what Sean was mentioning. Like I remember what great scene was Trese eating, I think, breakfast with the kambal and all
Yeah.
the other surrounding
That
peeps.
was so good.
It was a good quiet sequence, and we wish we had more of that. Like everyone eats together.
It's a great
That's a
scene.
very
Yeah, that's a great scene.
and like especially since I've read some parts of the comics, how tries to take some time going around Metro Manila. In fact, in the comics, you actually see like fictionalized like
See a map.
maps,
Yeah, we see the
yeah,
map.
of where this is happening. Like this is happening in Cubao. This is happening in Mandaluyong, where the
Yeah.
health center is, mental health center is. So those little things that
We saw Bilibid. We saw the National
we saw
Bilibid
believe
prison. Yeah,
in.
which is near where Ado lives.
Oh yeah,
Hey.
represent.
Yeah, represent Bilibid.
I'm pretty
I
sure
mean,
if they got to see themselves, I mean, they're where they live in the show. That I don't know. They feel
I
hyped?
mean,
Maybe.
it is an iconic facade.
Yeah, no, I'm talking about the prisoners who are there. If they got to see David on TV in a cartoon, like how would they feel? I think they'd feel hyped.
It would be hilarious if like National Bilibid Prison just decided to have a screening of Trese just for these guys. Hey, look
They
guys, it's
should.
us.
They should. They should. They
Yeah,
absolutely
this
should.
is like second on the list after the giant choc nut.
Hopefully it
They're
doesn't
making
rile.
us eat flesh.
Oh,
I mean, yeah.
What do you think of Manila's depiction, Ado? Because I
Okay,
gotta tell you, I think when Sean says it's lifeless, he's just missing the people. He's missing the traffic.
that's fair. I
I will
can get that.
explain.
I guess for me, I don't really know what Manila looks like. I mean, there are like certain things that like I've
'Cause you
seen,
live in
like
the
the
South.
MRT.
'Cause you live in
Yeah,
the South, yeah.
and I don't leave my house, and and like mostly when I do have to like leave my house, it's in a car. So the stuff that did pop out to me were the train, the MRT at the start, and the billboards. Like when I saw Jollibee on a billboard, like, all right, I know this. Although I have been to wet markets, which is one of the scenes I really liked was when she goes through the wet market and they're selling like magical items or um, stuff that you
People
would find in the
parts.
wet market, but a magical one. And I really want to see more of that because that was pretty cool. It reminds me of another cartoon I would watch as a kid. I'm pretty sure you guys have seen it. Well, maybe not Doi, but Sean and Mark. Jake Long, American Dragon. Did you? I mean, it's the same vibe. It's like it's a normal city, but there's magical creatures that inhabit it, and then they make the regular day-to-day set pieces into the magical version. So when I saw the wet market and them selling eyeballs and whatever those things, those other things were, probably magic things, like said earlier.
I did not expect American Dragon Jake Long to be name dropped
Oh,
here.
come on, guys, we're fans of animation in
Yeah,
general.
but I
Gonna
appreciate
pull
it.
all of this out. And yeah, so
We're all
that
young.
wet
We're all
market,
young
and
enough to
I've been to a lot of
remember.
wet markets, and yeah, that I guess it'll be different for a lot of people because people don't experience Manila the same way,
Mm.
and they don't see the same things like me. I do not. I know we work next to the Meralco, but I've never seen it, or at least I didn't know it was there.
Yes.
You have definitely seen it. You just didn't notice it.
Yeah, for sure I've seen it, but I didn't know that was it. So when I saw it on the show, I was like, maybe subconsciously, I was like, oh yeah, this looks familiar. Maybe I think I know what that is. But the wet market with the aswangs dealing
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
was in the first episode, right? So that got me pretty excited and hopeful for the rest of the way.
For
I
me, the
think there's
big
some
one, yeah, for me, the big one was when Alex was sitting in a carinderia eating food with a
if I'm
monoblock
not
chair.
mistaken, isn't that in Cubao? Based on the facade?
It's
It looks
possible.
like one that I passed by in Pitwazon.
It's possible.
Like the design of it. I was gonna
Yeah.
mention that it's a bit unfair to you, Dui, that the show starts off in Guadalupe Bridge with the MRT station near your place
That's where he lives.
depicted on the very
They
first
shafted you.
episode.
You know what I'm sad about? I'm sad that there is no that we the Trese marketing campaign with all the billboards, all the
Yeah.
stunts
So
that
good.
they did, like it was one of the best marketing campaigns I've seen in a long time. I'm sad that there wasn't an actual billboard by Guadalupe Bridge because that would have
Missed
been perfect.
opportunity.
They only had the electronic one.
Did
It wasn't by Guadalupe Bridge though, was it?
No, it was the one near, I guess I named up
There's
something. Like the bench billboards and there's like an electronic one there. They had one there.
Oh yeah, I missed it then. Okay, fine. Fine,
I'm
fine,
not sure
fine.
if
electronic ads are
I'm
so
not sure if I
lit
took a
though.
picture because I passed by.
It's an LED.
It's an LED one.
Yeah.
I think the, the reason why I'm a bit conflicted about the depiction of Manila is because I feel the overall criticism with the show is it makes you want more, and I wanted more because I feel like, for example, someone like Mark, who I would safely say is very in tune with like the history of the city and a lot of its key parts. You see a lot of the highlights or points of interest that would get pop out of you. Whereas someone like Ado, who sees the city also from a different angle, maybe there were other aspects that you wanted to see a bit more. Which again, for something like a comic, you would want to just choose and isolate what you would highlight. But yeah, a lot of it I feel just left me wanting more, and I wanted to see more of those down to earth moments, like what Captain Guerrero does. His daily routine, being on the jeep. Like if they had something like that for everybody, for Trese, for the twins, etc., would have been perfect. Because you could have shown more places, and you could have also helped add more context, a bit more humanity to the characters in the show. On the topic of lifelessness, it's only for the transition shots or the establishing shots.
Mhm.
Like they were it's a bit too static for me. Like for example, in the opening, I'm not sure if I'm misremembering. I might have to rewatch the show, but again, the traffic, that's something that's a highlight of the city. And that's something I would have wanted to see at least partially animated for that establishing shot to really make me feel like we were there. Because I feel like the workaround with the budget that they did was just more of like a parallaxing effect, like some like move maybe a moving perspective. I'm not sure I'm using the terms right, but it kind of gives you the illusion of movement, but it's still lacking for me.
Yeah.
An example I can take up actually, Sean, in the Balete Drive White Lady crime scene thing, when there's a crowd, the, the crowd behind the barricade, the crowd was a bit lifeless there.
They don't
And
move.
actually, that was, yeah,
Generally, a lot of the background characters are just
yeah,
kind of like there,
yeah. Which is
creepily looking at what they are
yeah,
looking
when
at.
the White Lady um started to disintegrate, um, you expected more movement from them, but you just heard it. They did it through the dubbing, not through actually seeing it, which
Yeah,
a bit
yeah.
worried me when was watching the first episode. Like, please tell me this gets better.
Like it's a bit of a disconnect because like they're like they're trying their best to give you that illusion, but it's a bit rough in execution.
Yeah.
So
But
yeah, go
yeah,
ahead.
I was gonna say, but ultimately at the end of the day, for me, that's a little thing on the whole package, which I enjoyed.
Oh yeah.
I'd say, yeah.
So tell me something really quickly around the table. Tell me who your favorite character was. Sean,
Twins. Twins.
Mark.
I can. It's hard to not go with the twins, to be honest.
Ado.
I'm actually gonna go with Nuno, except for his little plot
Ah.
twist at the end, which I mean, it was like, oh, it was him all along, but like didn't really matter. But he also got
Magda
to
all
eat the
along.
giant chalk nut, so he's living the dream.
He is living the
But
dream.
also, I mean, like as a character, I don't know what like mythological creature he's based on. If like anyone can say it now, like
That's it.
that would be.
It's a Nuno.
He's called a
Yeah.
Nuno.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's a cool character that I mean, he's the guy who gives Jesse the information, but you kind of know that, where is he getting this information, and is he not giving away information also? Because
Huh.
he's pretty cheap. He takes chalk nut for for a fee,
Every
and
detective needs a snitch.
Mm.
yeah, and when it's revealed that he was the traitor all along, it's like, oh, it was a cool moment at that moment, but it didn't really matter. But other than that, fun character, little green gremlin lurking in the underground, eating junk food.
And he
That's
sounded
the life.
amazing. Sounded really amazing in both English and Filipino. Like very consistent in the quality of the voice
If
acting
you
there.
told me that he had the same voice actor for both, I would have believed you.
I would have believed it.
Yeah.
I'm surprised that it wasn't the same guy.
Tell me your favorite
Um,
moment.
The
hmm.
thing right now in top of my head is actually the Datu Tatuk Basao reveal of how violent it was. Because reading in the comic, it wasn't depicted like that. It was like, oh, it's suddenly him. But seeing a guy pull
Can
his
I? Can
jaw
I?
out like that, then suddenly he, I'm here.
I mean, to comment on the gore, it both bothers me a teeny tiny bit, but also really excites me at how unabashedly gory and disgusting a lot of the stuff on the show is.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because
The
you don't really,
doctor being pulled by the Chanak in the parking lot and just having it be flickering.
dude, the mayor
Oh, the
chopping up bits of himself, that messed me up. I'm not, I'm not even gonna like. I won't front. That messed me up. Like, okay, fine. You see him talking to that one other prisoner. So I'm like, okay, typical power play going on here. Then you see like, oh, what's that red stuff on him? Like, is that a shirt or something? And he starts cutting up this piece of meat. And I'll tell you this: I'm assuming that I get the dish right. I cannot look at adobo the same way ever again. And I just had adobo last week. I'm so glad I didn't see it then. That messed me up. It's like
Ado,
it would have been it would have been better for me if he was like chopping up somebody else. Like sure, it's still cannibalism, but he was chopping up himself.
Like in the stomach area of all places.
Ado, your favorite moment.
I guess that the moment happens a lot. I'm a sucker for transformation scene. So every time the Kambal get their masks on, like in that little purple glow, hype. And same with when Maliksi turns into the like he's like not driving anymore. He just goes straight up tikbalang. I'm like, all right, that's cool.
Malik is pretty cool. Would
Yeah,
you?
but
Okay, next question. Would you ship Maliksi with Alexandra?
No. No.
Because this is the most famous ship among the comics fans. No?
I'd rather give it to
No.
Marco.
Mm.
The new
We're going
guy.
there just because the series kind of hinted it, and I'm like, you know, she needs a normal guy to keep her grounded. She has enough of the
She needs sanity in her
You're
life.
really trying to flame the fan base here.
oh, I'll do whatever I want. This is coming from the guy who hasn't read it and like who's gonna pick the character who's not in the comics to ship with the main character. Of course, that's gonna be my thing. But yeah, no, I mean she's a supernatural person. She deserves someone more grounded. It's a kind of common thing, but I could see it working.
Yeah, I wasn't thinking about it much too, but I don't know. You haven't seen much of Marco for me to be like strongly Marco and Trese, but yeah, somebody not magical, not mythological would probably be a good partner for her if she needed one. Which
Yeah.
I
But
don't
also
know.
we don't know that Marco isn't magical, but he probably isn't, but he could also be. You never know.
I just
Oh.
find Tress's life at the moment too stressful to have a partner. Right?
I agree, man. Like,
I think she needs to
Partner
find
helps with
herself.
stress.
she can't
I'm gonna
really
throw it out
handle
there.
that right
A good
now.
partner helps with the stress.
She's basically
Ah.
babysitting these twins.
I
Okay.
mean, yeah.
Give me your overall rating for the show out of 10. Let's say that below 5 is you would never watch it again. 7 is you would recommend it to people.
7.
I
But
go
oh,
eight. I go 8.
I don't know if by the 7, because like I have my biases with the show. Like I have my reasons why I want people to watch it.
You want it to succeed.
Yeah, I don't know if that factors into my overall rating, but like maybe if I'm being super honest, I would rate it a 6. But I would
Mhm.
recommend it because I know they can do better. Like everybody involved can do better.
If you think they can do better, then you would recommend it because you wanted to get a second season.
Yeah, but I'm giving it a 6.
I'll
Oh,
go with
yeah.
I'll
an
also
8
go 6.
because all right, 6 as well.
Yeah,
I'm the higher one.
same with Sean. I would recommend it not to everyone, but to some people, and I do hope it gets a second season. So I think this season was not the best they could do, and I think they can do better. So 6 for the season, but looking forward to a second one if ever.
I think my bias is showing here because I think I know what they can tell, which is adding to my scoring. We're in we're on the same boat here. Like we want them to succeed and want them to do better. And in terms of the things that they can actually do, it's a lot more tangible than I think you guys are perceiving it. That's why I'm building on scoring it to an 8, which I want to emphasize. Like score of 6 is still good.
It's
We're
a
in
3 out of 5. That's a 3 out of
Yeah.
5.
yeah. We're in. I'd still watch a 6 out of 10 rating show. Hell, I'd even watch something 5. But I'm really um putting my chips down on Trese. I really think Netflix has something really good here, which I really hope they pour in the support. Given my hesitation, honestly, that Netflix has with easily pulling the plug on a lot of different
Mhm.
projects. That's my honestly my hesitation with Netflix, but I really hope they support this. I really want to succeed.
I
I
think the
think for
fact
me,
that every criticism that's been thrown at the show seems to, it seems absolutely fixable, especially if you give it more episodes. I actually think that's a good
Mhm.
sign.
Mm.
Because if
I think
if
so too.
if there was criticism for the show and it had to do with the concept of the show, then we have a problem.
Yeah.
Then we're fighting here. we, but
And I mean,
everything
like,
seems fixable, right? Yeah, go Sean.
yeah, for me, almost all of my problems with the show boils down to the production and execution, which again, at 6 episodes, there isn't much that you can squeeze out or really establish more. It's like I told you this before. Like for me, my biggest comparison here is how Netflix did the Castlevania series. The
Mhm.
first season was 4 episodes long, and after watching those first 4 episodes, that's honestly a bit hard for me to see how it could continue because of
Would you
how
have
short
rated
it
that a
was.
6 as well? The first Castlevania, the
The
first,
first season of Castlevania,
yeah.
I I would probably give it something towards a 7 or an 8, only because I feel it was a little bit better in terms of its overall production, just a
Okay.
little bit. Like
Was more polished.
especially with the voice acting. Like I had, if there's one thing you cannot hit Castlevania on, it's the voice acting. And apparently after 4 episodes, it did well enough that it had 3 more seasons, 10 episodes each. And in those next 3 seasons, they really built up a lot of the core themes and lore of the show, and ended up being really good in my opinion. And that's kind of what I'm hoping to see with Trese because they have a good start, but giving them another season or two at a longer episode order shows a lot of potential, and it would kill me if that potential is untapped.
You got future seasons where you can rate them a 7, 8, 9, or 10.
Absolutely. I
Yeah.
don't see why not, especially when everything we've discussed so far is fixable. Like there's nothing that can't be improved on.
I'll tell you
Nothing.
this: if this gets more seasons, and if this ends up being the worst season, that's a good thing too,
Yeah.
isn't it?
Yeah.
And if I'm not mistaken, this is the first project of the animation studio. I think the animation studio was formed with this project, if I'm not mistaken.
I think so. Yeah.
So it's like
So
for a first try, it's like this is actually pretty damn good. Like focusing on the
Mhm.
production alone.
It's like it's hard. It's like, on that note, it is if it is their first production. If it is their first production, I mean, like around the time I was watching Trese, I was also watching other series. Like prior to
Invincible.
Trese, I watched Invincible. Alongside Trese, I was watching Jujutsu Kaisen. And at least in the case of the anime, you have big Japanese studios pouring a heck of a ton of budget onto these projects. So, like for me personally, it's hard to objectively rate Trese higher than a 6 because you know the quality or the ceiling that animation can hit. And you know, Japanese anime or even other kinds of Western anime is hard to beat in that regard. But by no means is the bar set that low for Trese because it can be better. Like,
yeah, you're rating it a 6 because you're rating it in a vacuum. You're not rating it on a curve. You're
yeah,
not
yeah,
taking into account this is the first project by the studio,
Mm.
etc., etc.
absolutely. And it is this. I don't see how we can improve upon the. I really can't. Like, if all the right factors come into play, this only gets better in my opinion.
Tell me one thing you'd like to see. It could be a mythological monster, it could be more of a certain character, it could be anything. Or it could be a certain situation, it could be a dangling plot line resolved. Tell me one thing, just one thing you would like to see in season 2.
I want more of the breakfast scene.
That's
Because
very
like for me,
specific.
because that for me, and I mean by breakfast scene, I mean more
Quieter
down to
moments.
earth everyday moments. Yes,
Yeah.
Or family
like
dynamics.
give me more of that for all of the characters because I love the twins, but I don't think we've seen the twins enough or heard from the twins enough apart from a oh that's great bossing or oh no bossing. Like I want
The
to
car scene with Hank was a great one.
it was, but I
Yeah,
Oh,
think
they're
like
those were
trying
more
to
of
all
those
change the
things.
radio, trying to change the radio
Yeah.
station.
Yeah.
like those are all small bits and pieces, and I want more. It's like I feel like the character of the twins, like there's so much that you can do with them and how you choose to present them. I think, but what's more of those for everyone? Like even like Hank's scene with Nova and how he was fangirling over her.
He's like the
You know,
worst type of fan, right?
oh yes,
Hindi ako yung weird,
and
ah.
and like all of those small bits, like I love that they were scattered in to like reduce the tension in upcoming tense moments, but more of that, especially for Trese. Like hell,
Mm.
I mean, this might be a bit cliche, but can't we all have a scene of them in a bar, having a drink, or
She
can't we
does
have?
own a bar.
No, I know, but how much time did we spend net in that bar,
Yeah.
or
Interestingly, in the comic,
or
they
like
spend a crap load of time in that bar.
something that came up to me just now is that the twins. I'm not sure if the twins are with us, Trece, but they invite each other for a drink, and we don't see it. I mean, it's gonna be nice just to see Trece and those two essentially little brothers of her, just like getting drunk, having fun. Not always fighting monsters. It's more of
So,
that.
character moments that could not be shown due to a short uh, duration.
Mm.
Absolutely.
I see that. What about you, Mark?
To build on that, actually, I recall like there was this TikTok of the twins dancing. Then Trece walks in, all serious, and that's like a moment that I want more in the show, and I like that the community is the one making up for it in that sense. But for me,
The
it's
Tressa
more
the
Snake.
Tressa community is insane, right?
Yeah,
Like
they're great. They're great, man.
they're so awesome.
I want my Snake Man in. I want my Snake Man inside the
Okay,
mall.
okay, we have to explain this to the people who don't know what you're talking about. Okay, see, Ado
Take us
doesn't know what
away.
you're talking about.
I
In
do
the
not.
90s, in a mall called Robinson's Galleria, there was talk that there was a snake man who was the son of the owner of the mall who was going in and peeping on women changing in the dressing rooms
In the department store.
in the department stores. Yes.
Wait, was he a snake?
Yes, he
Like,
was part snake.
Closest to the reptilian man in that sense. And there
he
was
could
a
like
huge
slither in the
conspiracy
vents, or
covering up.
that's interesting.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
didn't know
because it
that.
is the son of the mall
He was
magnate. Yeah,
the very specific actress that he was accused of going after was an actress, a pretty big actress at the time named Alice Dixon, who made a short film, who made a commercial just I think last year about the whole thing. I thought that was funny. I'm not sure if they'll ever do this, Mark. There might be some rights issues to this, or some 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 people they might not want to piss off. So
hey, he was going through puberty at that time, as he said. And I guess the how light that take on that mythological creature is, or myth rather. I find it actually funny that we're treating it like horror, even though technically these are like fairy tales.
scary fairy tales.
And if you
Like
think
I,
about fairy tales originally, they were meant to scare kids.
That's
like I
true.
was like I was about to
That's
say
why.
because I know you, Mark, and you, Dewey, are fans of this. I've never read it, but isn't Trese almost like a Filipino version of Fables?
What?
Fables, the comic, the Vertigo comic series. It's closer to Constantine,
Or
I'd
maybe like a
say.
mashup of the two.
But yeah, like a mashup of the two.
I
But
guess you
I remember telling Jose this. I can't believe that we get Tracy first over like an adaptation of Fables. I'm
technically you
still
were supposed to have gotten an adaptation of Fables. It became Once Upon a Time. You take what you get, Mark.
Yeah,
it's not
stop
the same
complaining,
though.
man.
We didn't get a villain Geppetto.
What about you, Ado? You got name one thing that you would want to see in season 2.
Okay, so since we saw like a big bad in season one, like a literal god of war, I want to see whether it's episodic or it's like villain of the week type thing. I want to see the main enemy be someone who is on par with Trese, that she can like have a battle of wits with versus some godly thing that she has to overcome. Like could be a recurring character or the main villain of the whole season, but that's what I want to see.
That
It'll
might
help give.
be addressed by the end credits.
Mm,
Wait,
Well,
what?
I don't know.
I
yeah,
mean,
yeah.
oh, I mean, is this a character from the comic? Yeah. So like after I saw that, I was like, okay,
No, she's
this looks
not. She's not. She's new.
oh, okay, cool. So yeah, when I saw that, I was like, I hope this is what I want it to be. I
Yeah.
don't know because she does look kind of strong, but not God of War strong. So yeah, okay. So
I've
fingers
got
crossed.
one thing I really want to see because we did not pull out. For me, the mythological biggest gun that the Philippines has is the Manananggal. And while
Actually,
there was a Manananggal in the series in the background, I'm like, you know what? If if anybody not familiar with Philippine mythology sees a Manananggal and sees the whole thing, the whole detachment of the torso from the legs,
mhm.
that is going to get them thinking, oh my God, what is that? And then go down a deep Wikipedia / YouTube rabbit hole of Filipino monsters. So
To add to that, hopefully they don't have to go to Wikipedia and the show kind of fills
Explains.
it in. Like I
Yeah.
know there's a way to kill a manananggal. It involves sprinkling something on the severed half, the bottom half, right?
salt.
Yeah. See, like I mean, I'd want to see that, and I'd want other people to see that too, because that'll be. And you're right. That is a pretty big cornerstone of Philippine horror and mythology.
Yeah, it's for me. It's the biggest gun that we have, and I don't know because it's also not a big thing done in Trese, the comic. But I wouldn't be surprised if they do it in the show, especially since they have already introduced a Manananggal, which, by the way, some people seem to be fans of.
People people are fans of the Manananggal.
People are fans of everyone in the show, apparently. They're all very good looking characters.
They are. They
Uh,
are.
I
They
think
are.
so. I think so.
Like
I'm
Nuno
You
can
know
okay.
who
get
I
it.
hate? You know who I hate? That annoying emo aswang dude with the
Oh,
three ears and
the one
in the tiny jacket.
yeah.
The one in the tribunal, the table with the
Yeah,
nun. Is that the one?
yeah.
Yeah, he looked more vampire than a swang to me.
Yeah, because I'm like, if an aswang can shapeshift, this is the shape you chose.
Like, come on, man.
I guess it got me thinking as well, Dewey, that um more time with the tribes, especially with the art. Particularly, read the comics that I could actually reread for the
Yeah.
show, and a little, I guess, information for our two friends here that, especially in terms of mythology in the Philippines, we don't only have one God of War. Depending where you are, there are several, depending on the tribe. Like the
Talagbusao
particular,
is very specifically from Bukidnon.
yeah,
Yeah.
and others are more peaceful than some. And it reminded me as also for you, Doy, that you were mentioning me before watching Trese and stuff. Like you finally finished God of War, the video game, and how wait, this ties to a lot of things here. And
Yeah,
how
boy.
and
That
like
plug.
and what I wish the
98% completion.
get that to 100. Jose, you can do it.
Stick to your comic to say. You can do a gaming cube next time.
And this builds on what Ado's really wanting the show to be, like a little bit more explanation how the world is. And the thing is, the world building in the show is actually really great, but still, it
Yeah.
could be a lot better. That's the amazing thing about it.
Because the
Yeah,
world
yeah.
is so rich. There's so much of it that you want to explore. Like that's the thing. Everybody's like, I want more time with the tribes. I want to see her brothers. I want to know what happened when the balete tree.
Yeah.
I want more of
More.
the current day.
Just give me more.
Give me more.
A thought crossed my mind when Mark was talking. Do the comics ever get out of Manila?
I want to say there's been a few that do, but I can't say. Manila's kind of a character on its own. You know, it's
Because
not such a
I'm
separate place.
I'm so tempted to say like maybe potentially a barrier for this show is how heavily it relies on the character of the city of Manila to drive its plot.
To be fair, you have
And
somebody like Spider-Man who relies on the character of New York City.
New York City.
fair, I just
Jake
don't
Long is
know.
also New York City, by the way.
God.
Integral to the plot.
I agree, man. I agree. I hope you get a shape shifting dragon in season two. It's gonna be great. No, but like I feel like that's something that worries me. It's like what would the marketability of Trese be in the other regions of the country? Because the makeup of Manila and Luzon in general
It's
is
not the same,
so
right?
it's so different from your Visayas and Mindanao. Like how do you like how do we make this a whole country thing or like that kind of challenge? Like hell, I would want to see a Bisaya character in season two, even if it's a show original. Like just to
Especially how much rich Bohol is when it comes to the supernatural,
lure the
the
Bohol
lore.
lore. But yeah, I mean, I as a first step, definitely you want to show Manila to its in all its smells and glory. But there is an opportunity I feel also to highlight the regionality of the Philippines and how diverse everything is because there is a lot more lore to be uncovered and that they can touch on outside of Manila. And I don't want the image of the Philippines to just be Manila as
I,
well.
I think there might be an opportunity for that already baked into the show because if you look at the characters who are surrounding the balete tree when she enters it, there's a woman, um, parang diwata,
Mhm.
dressed in white and everything. People are speculating that she's Maria Makiling.
Mm.
So if you, for example, have a character based on Maria Makiling, you have to go to Mount Makiling. Like
Yeah.
so that might already be baked in. And you're saying Bisaya, I would love them to set one by the Banawe rice terraces. Because the opening chant is an Ifugao chant.
Oh my God. We
I,
didn't really touch on this, but Mark, I've told this to Mark several times. The score and the soundtrack for this show is fucking amazing.
he used it.
There's
You
his
used it.
F-bomb.
You used-
And it feels it's for the right thing. I cannot stress enough how much I love the opening song to the show. And of course, like Up Dharma Down for the end credits.
Up. They're called UDD now.
UDD. Uh, I
Ud.
love it, every bit of it. My only complaint is that the opening credits, fantastic. The Ifugao chant song, all the visuals, amazing. I'm a little gutted at how the end credits with UDD's amazing song is played over a recap of the episode. That's something like smaller gripe, but Netflix, come on,
Make
give
it more
us
make it more
gi-
anime. Actually put like
give us a nice end credits. Like hell, give us cute chibi versions of the twins shooting at stuff.
It's like, come on, this is UDD.
Or like give us Trese sitting by a bus stop reading a book while that UDD song plays in the background. I mean, if we're saving on budget, hell, show different scenes. Like, I mean, show different scenes, not in the episode, but like feels like a bit of a missed opportunity because looking at an episode recap while that really good track plays at the end takes me out of it.
actually it got me
But
thinking. You can even establish Manila even more with that end credits. Not
yeah,
even like showing the characters, showing more of
Yeah,
the
that's
scenery of
true. That's
Manila.
true.
There's a
Yeah.
missed opportunity there.
like why like we can do a clip show, like show the lore in all these different parts of the Philippines,
Mm,
not just Manila.
mm.
Like that's a good and hell, that's a good way to hopefully make people not skip the credits
Yeah,
because
especially
I
this guy's talking here. I know he's a perennial skipper. That's why
I
for him not skipping the intro is a good.
and I did not skip this
Mm.
intro. That's how good it was. Like, if I can get the soundtrack on Spotify right now, I am playing that the next
I
time I
think,
work out.
if I'm not mistaken, I checked on the guys who actually made the score for the show. I can't believe the lineage of Trese is it started with these. Um, I think they're like three brothers. They did Walker Texas Ranger,
Really.
and from that all the way to here to Trese. It's like
The
wow.
the chant is an Ifugao chant called the Hood Hood. It is played during celebrations. I actually have an Ifugao friend who will be giving me the translation at some point.
Ooh,
Oh my
I'll wait for
god.
that.
Yeah.
So go ahead.
My last question: how important is this moment for the Filipino creative, and where do we go from here? I want to end with Mark, so I don't care who starts.
All right,
Oh,
I'll
okay,
go
that's
first.
how it is.
So I think it's important that the creators get to see that it's possible for their works to be shown on an international stage. I mean, I know we have movies that sometimes make it to festivals, festivals overseas, but I think if you're looking at the landscape of media here in the Philippines, a lot of it gets overshadowed by those who speak the loudest. So a lot of the um, I don't know, mass media movies. I mean, they're not bad, but I wouldn't really
We know what you're
watch them. But
saying.
like,
Yeah.
yeah. So it's so easy to get like disheartened when you see that's what success is, and you don't want to sacrifice your own ideas or your creativity to kind of meet the mold of what's popular. So it's nice to know that they'll be able to find possible success overseas, and that they don't have to sacrifice too much for their own ideas and creativity um, to succeed. So I'm glad that this exists, and I'm glad for Filipino creatives because of this.
And I
Sean?
think to build on that, like I feel all of us here, we know a good amount of people in the creative field who are either forced to work in a more corporate advertising setting as opposed to the creative media field because we know the hard cap that the local media here has with regards to its content. Like, don't get me wrong, it works and it's definitely what the market wants. But what the market wants, in my opinion, doesn't necessarily reflect or enable the creativity of our more talented individuals in the country. So just by virtue of having a huge brand like Netflix pick up this 16-year-old comic and adapt it into an animated series is big to me. It's like what I said at the start of the show. I can't think of any other local works that are animated that gained any significant traction at all. And if ever they did, the production might have been like just way far off from what we wanted. So, to build on Ada's point, the kind the knowing that the possibility is there, knowing that there is opportunity for a lot of our local creatives is a good sign. And I hope more people internationally take note of what the Filipino creative can do, be it a story about the country or be it a story in a different setting of their own choosing. We have a lot to offer. And the not to hit on our advertising friends, but the less creatives that end up having to work in advertising and can focus on art in the Philippines for me is ultimately for the better. So good step in the right direction. And that is why under no circumstances will I not try my best to get people to watch this. If, if I said that right, but I will do my best to get people to watch this. I lost myself there. Because this is what we need. This is what we need. We need proof of concept. Netflix needs proof of concept, and we need proof of concept to establish that ambition.
And we need to deliver.
Absolutely.
Mark, take this home.
Okay. I wholeheartedly agree with what Ado and what Martin have said earlier. I'm actually lost right now what we're calling each other with different names.
It
But
doesn't matter
We've all
anymore.
called each other at
yeah,
least two names.
yeah,
Like, he's
it's
Jaime.
yeah, and it's just a great time now to be a Filipino creative. The way I see it, we're in the one thing I wish for everyone, and I know Jose, you share this. We're in I want there's a lot of people now turning their eyes for the first time to this sort of material, to this sort of project, this sort of medium. And some are craving more. And I wish people would support that, would lead them to right directions. If you're interested here, recommend them this, recommend them that. Dive into it. Give this comic a chance. Give this project a chance. I know that I've seen some conversations like some are a little bit more gatekeepy on this is one of my special thing that I know. And I kind of wish that it was still my special thing. Now I have to share it with these normies here. But at the end of the day, if we want really this project to succeed and the whole industry to succeed, we need more people to know what these things are. And if we want to change what Ado was alluding to earlier, we're in a bulk of what we've been getting with, let's just say, mainstream media, especially in the local community here, will be a lot of the same thing, very formulaic, very similar things. If we want some changes into that, support that indie film, support this project here, support this show here. Because at the end of the day, as what also what Sean mentioned, the Filipino creative has a lot to offer. We Filipinos have a lot to offer from our mythology all the way to our culture and our capabilities. Granted, I understand that this show is not actually made here. It's actually made in Indonesia. But
But
at
the
the end of the day,
door,
it's
the door.
that the door. We're not limited anymore that my comic has to be adapted by whatever Filipino art studio can make animation studio is here. No, I'm actually open up to other opportunities elsewhere that could probably take it on. And that's still technically a Filipino thing. It's still us. It's still ours. And it pays to support that. And
You know what, Mark? If people see this and then they're like they get mad that it's not made in the Philippines, maybe it will lead to a bigger discussion as to why it's not made in the Philippines.
yeah, exactly. Like my friends in animation here are not paid well. Let's just put it that way. They're not supported well. Their hardware to like the computers to make the animation on, not that great. At least compared to what you'd find elsewhere. There's a reason why the Americans would go to the Koreans for their cartoons because Japan is getting more expensive. And Japan for their anime goes to us because we're cheaper for their transition animation. And if we can make things a lot better for everything, the whole industry, and also for the material that we're consuming, a bit better for everyone. If you love Trese or you hate Trese, for what it is in terms of it being an art, that's fair and justifiable. But at least supporting it for being the first project that we had so far that really gained traction or is gaining traction internationally, it's something to keep your mind on, at least. That if Tress is not your thing because it's horror, for example, it's fair. I have like some friends I'm trying to get into it and it's having a hard time because of just that. But talking to them how it's speaking to something that we're familiar with because it's Filipino. That's how I'm getting into them. That maybe I'll check it out. That and from there, maybe I can introduce them to other things, and that's the reason why I'm really excited about it. And I'm just really happy right now about this whole show.
Amen.
Yeah,
Well
I hope
said.
I took it home for you right way, Jose.
Well said. Thank you everybody for joining the Comics Cube today. We everybody click like, share, and subscribe. Let us know what you think in the comments. Okay.
Like I said, I was a Kiko Machine fan first before Trese. At least the shirt by Manix is
You know,
similar to
Manix's
Trese.
style would translate very well to animation. Mark.
It would be a great for a
Would be
short.
easy. Yeah.
I
Also-
was thinking in my head how it could be adapted somehow. It
Also-
isn't gonna work.
Chalk nut guys, this big, at least.
Giant chocolate when, please.
Click like, share, and subscribe, everyone. Let us know what you think in the comments.